Topic 3, Human Impacts on the Environment, Lesson 3, Impacts on Land, found on pages 122 to 133 in your textbook. As usual, we'll start with the connect it. So first we need to identify and label one unlimited resource and one limited resource shown in the image. So here we have natural resources, figure 1. Humans use many different types of resources. Some of them are limited supply, while others are essentially limitless. So wind is an unlimited resource, and fossil fuel for the tractor is a limited resource. What impact do you think the overuse of certain resources might have on Earth's ecosystem? Sorry, again, crops are unlimited resources, so there are 3 examples, you only needed 1 of each. And then in answer to that question, when we overuse natural resources such as trees and soil, our actions can lead to habitat loss and increase in population. Land as a resource. A natural resource is anything that occurs naturally in the environment. A renewable resource is either always available or is naturally replaced in a relatively short time. Non-renewable resources are resources that are not replaced within a relatively short time frame. Land doesn't cover as much of the plant surface as water, but is a vital resource. It grows food, gives us raw materials, and provides shelter. Over here we have recycling and composting helps save natural resources, and just an infographic about some of that, if you'd like to pause and take a look at that. Agriculture. Land provides most of the food that people eat. Using land to grow food is called agriculture. If land is not suitable for farming, it can be made into new farmland by draining wetlands, irrigating deserts, or deforestation. Deforestation is the removal of forests to use the land for other reasons, but it destroys the habitats of organisms living in that place. Mining. Metals and plastics used to make items like TVs, cell phones, building materials, and cars are mined from below Earth's surface. Metals are obtained from a type of mining called strip mining. This removes the top layer of dirt to expose the minerals underneath. If left unattended, rain washes the soil and land away along with all of the nutrients. Then it can take thousands of years for soil to be replaced. Development. The space that your house, camper, or apartment sits on was once a habitat for organisms. As the human population grows, land is built up and developed with human structures, leaving no room for the living organisms of the original habitat. Here we have figure 2, land use. Humans use land in many different ways. How do these activities impact Earth system? So we have an example of clear cutting, strip mining, and development. So clear cutting provides land to produce food, but destroys habitats. Strip mining provides metals and minerals, but causes soil erosion and destroys habitats. When new houses are built, natural habitats are being destroyed. Importance of soil management. Healthy, fertile soil is essential to agriculture because of the minerals and nutrients the plants require. Good soil also absorbs, stores, and filters water necessary for plant growth. Organisms like bacteria, fungi, and earthworms break down waste and remains of living things and return them to the soil as nutrients. Structure of soil. Dig in the ground and you will encounter several layers of soil. The first layer is the litter layer, and it's the top layer where dead leaves and grass are found. Next, you'll have topsoil, which is a mixture of nutrients, water, air, rock fragments, and dead and decaying organisms. The third layer is subsoil. It contains the same water and air as the topsoil, but has more rock fragments and fewer plants and animal remains. The fourth layer is bedrock, and this layer makes up Earth's crust and is the basis for new soil. Bedrock is broken down when water dissolves it. It breaks apart from freezing and thawing. Plant roots break it down, burrowing animals help it, and then dead organisms break down and put nutrients in the soil. So, here we have figure 3, where we need to label each layer of soil in this photo: bedrock, litter, subsoil, and topsoil. And we just discussed that. So the top we have litter, then topsoil, then subsoil, then bedrock. Planet. Community considerations. Suppose you are part of a group that is converting an abandoned lot into a community garden. You need to plan the garden to avoid damaging the local environment further. What harmful effects should you consider and how can you minimize them? So using fertilizer incorrectly might contaminate the soil. We would have to make sure that people followed guidelines for caring for plants in the garden. Erosion. Erosion is a process where forces such as wind, water, and ice move particles of rocks or soil. Usually plant roots growing deep into the soil help hold it in place. Human activities such as mining, logging, construction, and farming increase erosion by taking away these plants and exposing the soil to wind and precipitation. So here we need to check the image that shows naturally occurring erosion. How did the different events cause these areas to form? And over here on the right, you can see that I've checkmarked that one. So the canyon likely took millions of years to form through weathering and erosion, whereas areas subjected to mining probably underwent change in a matter of just a few years. So the image on the left is strip mining, the image on the right is part of a canyon. Nutrient depletion. So plants make their own food through photosynthesis, but they need to take in nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus. Decomposers in the soil break down dead organisms, which add these and other nutrients to the soil. Farmers add fertilizers to the soil to provide the needed nutrients. Desertification. Desertification, the advances of desert-like conditions into areas that were previously fertile. A drought is a prolonged period of low precipitation where plants, including crops, will dry up or not grow at all. From 2010 to 2016, the state of California experienced a severe drought. The people of California took preventative actions to avoid desertification. The state introduced mandatory water restrictions and regulations on the use of groundwater. So here in Figure 5, we have desertification. Crops cannot grow in arid soil. As a result, many people are unable to grow their own food and must move to a town or city where food is available. Reading check. What most likely occurred to cause the conditions in Figure 5? Either the area experienced a prolonged drought, people allowed livestock to overgraze the land, or they have cut down all the vegetation. Our math toolbox, causes of land degradation. Scientists estimate that there are at least 79.5 million hectares of degraded land in North America. The graph shows the causes of land degradation by percentage. How many more hectares were degraded by agricultural activities than by deforestation? Show your work. So we're going to take 79.5 million times 0.521, which we got from the agriculture amount, which left us 41.4 million hectares from agriculture. 79.5 million, which is our total amount, times the percentage of deforestation, which gives us 4.3 million. So then we'll take the 41.4 minus 4.3, which gives us 37.1 million more hectares of land that were degraded by agricultural activities than by deforestation. Landfills. Our solid waste, construction debris, agricultural waste, and industrial waste gets buried in holes called landfills. Landfills are designed to protect surrounding areas from soil and water pollution. But if not managed properly, landfills can harm the environment. If it leaks waste into groundwater, which makes it toxic to drink. Once full, landfills can be covered with clay to keep rainwater out, and then reclaimed as parks or sports arenas, but can never be used for housing or agriculture. Land reclamation. Land reclamation is the restoring soil that has been lost to erosion, mining, or waste disposal to a more productive state. It can include trucking in new soil or putting back soil removed from a site for mining. This can restore farming areas or wildlife habitats. Land reclamation is very expensive and difficult. It's much harder to bring back damaged land than to protect and conserve resources before it is damaged. Here we have Figure 6. These pictures show an area that was reclaimed to include a stream. Add numbers to these pictures in chronological order. Explain what happened to the land in these pictures. So this image in the bottom left is our first one, where they're kind of mapping out where the stream is going to go. Then we have 2 where they're trying to further make those lines for the stream. 3, they have the grass that's starting to grow back, beginning to introduce water. 4, we finally have our stream and the grass and whatnot is starting to be more prevalent around. So a stream is being created. First it is marked out and then built and plants are added and eventually the stream forms. Reading check. How do human actions impact land? Give one positive and one negative impact. So positive, restoring land through land reclamation and by protecting resources. Negative, organizing livestock, mining, logging, and development lead to erosion, desertification, and nutrient depletion. Wetlands. Wetlands are an area in which water covers the soil for all or most of the year. It's found everywhere but Antarctica, and they're also called a bog, marsh, or swamp. Wetlands support both land and aquatic ecosystems. Humans' development of homes, businesses, and roads have altered the flow of water through wetlands and destroys unique habitats. It also increases erosion, flooding, and pollution of water and soil. Wetland soil acts like a natural sponge to collect water. Without it, water can flow directly into rivers or populated areas without being filtered through the soil, bringing sediments and pollutants. Wetlands have also a lot of the time been thought to be dirty. So frequently wetlands have been converted into living areas or other things, which has then caused flooding in those areas because of wetlands and how they kind of flow and how the water works. So that has been frustrating for some people in development. And then a lot of those places that were originally wetlands and were converted to other things have ultimately been changed back to wetlands. That's something that's happened and is happening because we're realizing or have realized that wetlands are not dirty. They're not unclean, which there was a common misconception of that. How wetlands work, Figure 7. Wetland plants, soil, and bacteria protect surrounding aspects. Circle the aspects of the wetland that provide benefits to humans. And specialized roots stabilizing soil, saturated soil stores water, bacteria break down pollutants, dissipate stream energy, and plants filter out pollutants and sediment are all benefits to humans. Reading check. How would filling in a wetland to create a field affect the surrounding environment? The plants would be destroyed, the animals would have to leave or die, and water that would have been soaked up might flood the surrounding area. Sustainable forest management. Trees and plants are important resources for food and shelter for many organisms. They release oxygen, absorb carbon dioxide and other pollution from the air. They absorb rainwater, hold the soil together, or prevent erosion and flooding. They are used for food, lumber, and paper. They need to be protected and managed sustainably. Sustainable is the use of a resource, means using it in ways that maintain the resource for all future. So sustainable use of a resource means using it in a way that maintain the resource for all future generations. With forests, replacing and reserving trees can ensure that the ecosystem remains healthy and that people can depend on forests for resources they need. So in a forest, you have older trees and younger trees, and there's always going to be a ratio of those trees. So you can only have so many old trees. You can only have so many young trees. You can only have so much in the understory, so many animals that it can provide for within that ecosystem. And managing a forest sustainably means knowing when it's time to go ahead and cut down one of those older trees because it's taking up too much light and not providing enough for other living organisms within the forest. So sustainability, Figure 8. Examine the forest closely. Do you think these trees are being managed in a way that maintains the overall health of the forest? Explain. So no, the forest should have been selectively cut so it would have stayed the same size, still able to shelter animals and plants as before and maintain the climate for new trees to grow. Logging methods. So there are two main methods of logging. We have clear cutting and selective cutting. Clear cutting is cutting down all of the trees in an area at once. Selective cutting is the process of cutting down only some trees in a forest and leaving a mix of tree sizes and species behind. Clear cutting is cheaper, but more damaging to the environment. Selective cutting is better for the environment, but more dangerous and more expensive. So figure 9 here, we have clear cutting and selective cutting are the two methods of tree harvesting. Label each method shown as clear cutting or selective cutting. So to the left we have clear cutting, they cut everything down. On the right we have selective cutting. Sustainable forestry. Planting one tree for each one cut down ensures that the overall yield remains constant. In sustainable forestry, after trees are harvested, young trees are planted. They must be planted frequently enough to maintain a constant supply. Fast-growing tree species, like pines, can be harvested every 20 to 30 years. Slower growers, like hickory, oak, or cherry, need 40 to 100 years. One sustainable approach is to log small patches of forest so that different sections can be harvested every year. So replanting, figure 10. Planting another generation of trees is one technique of sustainable forestry. Reading check. Why is it important to manage forests so that their yield is sustainable? For forests to remain a renewable resource, the number of trees harvested should be equal to those replaced to ensure a future supply. If we cut down too many trees without replacing them, habitat loss, erosion, flooding, and pollution will degrade the land and fewer trees will be available in the future. And that brings us to our lesson 3 check. So what are 3 different ways land is used as a resource? It is used to grow food, build shelters, and obtain raw materials. Why are trees considered a renewable resource? Unlike oil and coal, trees can be replaced, but they are renewable only if they are replaced as fast as they are used. How do prior farming methods impact Earth? When areas are overfarmed, it can lead to erosion and nutrient depletion in the soil. Farmers also overuse fertilizers, which can run off into the waterways. So overgrazing can lead to desertification. Give evidence to defend the claim that it is environmentally unsound to change the flow of water in a wetland. So wetlands support both aquatic and land-based ecosystems. They provide habitats for many species of plants and animals. Wetlands are very important for the environment because they absorb and filter water. This reduces flooding and pollution to surrounding land and waterways. How does the presence of trees maintain stability of land resources? Trees, like other plants, help to prevent erosion and pollution of land resources. A tree's extensive root system helps to hold soil in place. When trees are removed, the soil is bare and exposed to water and wind. And that concludes lesson 3.